can they bring it home for their country is the question. We're finding out. The draft is right around the corner.
Team Spirit versus PSG.LGD. Grand Finals, Game 1.
Hello everyone, welcome to the draft panel of the Grand Finals of TI10. I have here with me Seb and No-Tail. And I just want to start us off with a question. I mean, Team Spirit, they've had this amazing run. They have a lot of momentum, but LGD, they've seen more of Team Spirit's games. Which ones would you guys prefer going into the finals?
What do you mean going?
Like the momentum or having more information, because Team Spirit had to play more games.
I would have to say, looking at both teams also for what they are, LGD should be very comfortable, learning more, knowing more, having nothing to be afraid of. But if anyone could shake their boots, it should probably be Spirit, because you see the momentum, you see your Toro, and you see how they're feeling themselves as well, which I think is the only type of Dota, or the closest type of Dota to also go into such an organized and experienced drafting team. It's going to be very hard to surprise them, and it's going to be very hard to throw them on the back foot, but I would say Team Spirit's the one who could do it.
And it's already starting. I mean, the draft here, the information is that LGD chose first pick and Team Spirit went Radiant. Mm-hmm. It is their bread and butter, the Radiant on Team Spirit. I mean, it has been, dominating the tournament so far, and Team Spirit is one of the teams that abuses the most, the Radiant side. LGD, they are doing the same that they did against Secret yesterday. First pick domination, they had it both games and they made it work twice. They get it again, but this time around they did not get the Tiny from Team Spirit, which was a big theme. And it's also a big message, right? Because Team Spirit just beat Tiny Lycan against Secret, but now they play against potentially the LGD's Tiny, and they don't want to deal with it. Does it have anything to do with the bans that LGD went for, or are they, switching gear? We'll see. With first pick.
Now they get the normal ET versus the IO, which a lot of people would prefer. And the way you might maybe want to deal with this is now try and get a hero that protects versus the ET coming to your lane. It could have been the Monkey, it could have even been the Tiny, and here you go, and Ursa instead. This is just to protect the IO and make it stronger, actually give it purpose on the lane. Because if not this, ET and Tide there's so many lanes that you could go into. If they pick this casual gyrocopter, I think the lane could be atrocious for them.
I think there's a little bit of a tournament meta thing, right? Because teams, when they pick the out, they've been banning out the Ursa against them in the second phase. I think Ursa, one of the few agility carries that can match up against other Titan. You have the ultimate to get through. Exactly. Yeah. He can't man up on the lane. Even he can't. His aura doesn't pierce in rage.
Exactly. You can't get close to him. It's a lot of counter.
And one thing to mention here is how both teams covered really well the Magnus angle. Think about it. Like, they open the Wisp, then they go into ET Tide. Tide is considered a very good hero into Magnus just because of how the team fight happens, right? The Ravage covers the Skewer back because the Ravage is such a big AoE spell that you're going to fight wherever you want with Tide. Obviously, the Kraken Shell against the Magnus RP and stuns, it's really hard for Magnus to fight into Tide because you either RP his teammates and he's going to counter-initiate with Ravage, or you RP the Tide and he's going to get the Ravage off anyway. So you're kind of setting up the Tide for a great Ravage as Magnus, right? So LGD, Team Spirit, they go for this Tide, kind of making the Magnus second pick, like 8th pick, instead of the Ursa, really hard for LGD to go for. And this is one of the first games on the main stage, I think, where Magnus has been completely ignored by both teams. And these two teams have crushed games with Magnus.
They decide to still ban it now, which of course is still going to be good, and especially going to be good with the Ursa. I wonder if they're going to look at it. There's a Yatoro hero, I don't know if we've seen. Has he played TA safe lane yet?
No, but maybe he had, actually, like maybe in the group stage, but he does play it for sure.
Yeah. And this is why I think now LGD is thinking really hard about. It's like, what are they going to pick that's going to mess with our strategy and potentially our win condition? I think they want this Ursa to stay as a win condition. But there's also heroes in Dota that can make it really annoying. Teamfight is also something of it. Like Tide can be good versus Ursa later on in the game. Like this whole scaling and how you want to fight, Tide can be overwhelming quite often. It's why it's also one of the top heroes of this tournament. But yeah, I'm looking for the Yatoro TA this game so far. I want to see it.
So what I've seen from the start of the draft, we have pretty strong lanes coming out from IO Ursa, and there's a lot of team fight coming out from Team Spirit. Is it something that you guys think about, like how you want to match the team fight? Is that something important for LGD right now?
I think for both these teams, it is important. These teams excel at team fighting. I think they think about it a lot, drafting-wise. They have proven every game. These are the Mag Wyvern teams, the ET Magnus. Like, these are heroes that are really excel at the 5-on-5. They abuse positioning. They abuse vision. These teams are, the finest teams at doing so. So, of course, they both do think about it. A lot of other things can happen in the Dota game. It's such a complex game. So there's the team fight part, there's the scaling part, there's also the laning phase,
Ursa,
the
for
timings.
example, you will need these timings in this game to actually be able to enter these fights, because if this is an Ursa who's behind and you're playing against ET Tide, all of a sudden it looks super overwhelming. It looks like your heroes are really trash. But if you actually get Ursa to the point where he needs to get, he can destroy the enemy. He can go in first. He can do so much for his team, be a front line, like do all these things, Roche at minute 10.
He will play with Aegis into Tide, and now it's a very different way to play the fight, right? Ursa's just going on Tide, he has Aegis, Tide doesn't want to click Ravage. The whole team fight changes completely. This is why if they can get the Ursa to his timings, he can break a Tide. If they can't, and these things are going to be decided with the second phase that is coming up, they're also going to be decided with the laning setup. And I do also want to mention how these two teams, in my opinion, are probably the two best laning teams of the tournament also. They will punish each other's for every opening that they're gonna, every angle they're gonna expose, they will punish each other's.
So the Ursa timing, is that something you'd like to see, like LGD, should they commit the rest of their draft towards making that timing stronger? I think we were talking on the panel yesterday about Secret. They sort of went with some Wyvern Magnus, but they didn't commit to making that strategy work.
So I think Secret's early Roche and early timing strategies were some of the fastest and strongest and well executed of the tournament. Ursa was a big part of it. Enchantress with TA was also another way to see it. Tidehunter would like the game to be a little bit slower. Like if Dota starts happening in minute 15 to 18, you got your 1-2 items, you're very happy. Ursa doesn't allow that to happen. He might be going Roche at minute 9. He might be going Roche at minute 12. These things speed up the game and force them to maybe address that in the draft. If they can't address it really hard in the lane to slow down this Roche happening.
I want to mention how you see LGD's approach on the second phase, right? As Johan mentioned, like they banned the Troll, they banned the PA, they banned the TB. They're banning what they
want
think.
To scale.
Yeah, they're banning what they think is going to scale into the Ursa. I do want to mention the Lion pick, which I think is really, really strong, really powerful. First of all, it does not expose their draft, and yesterday we talked a lot about first pick versus second pick, which is now like second pick, meaning Team Spirit. They are past the danger zone because now they get to react twice. With picking this Lion, first of all, it gives actually Tide a better lane against Ursa. It's going to negate the pressure, the aggression from Ursa on the lane. And Lion Hex actually is one of the best tools against Ursa. Ursa can buy the shard, he can buy Aghanims to get away from stuns, but Hex is a mute, kind of. He's not going to be able to get out of Hex. So LGD now have a very clear fight condition, which is they get the fight on the Ursa, they Hex him, they burst him. Team Spirit, that's Team Spirit's fight condition, and LGD don't really have the tools to stop that.
Ooh. Wow. Okay, that's new and that's great.
Alme, he played this in the finals versus an Dota Major versus EG, and his Naga looked pretty solid there. I mean, I play a lot of Naga Siren, so I think this is a great Naga game so far. I think the lane is good versus Lycan. I think the matchup, you guys were talking about scale. I don't think Ursa scales at all against Naga Siren.
Very, very true.
Yeah, yes and no, I would say. There are a lot of fights where Naga can feel very underwhelming. I don't think the strength of Naga is ever going to be team fights. You see it in this patch where illusions don't ever get to do a lot in fights. PL illusions are kind of different. They stick on you, they hurt more, and they keep coming. Naga illusions, they can get wiped quite fast, quite easily. They don't have the best tools right now.
There's one thing that I see though with this Naga pick is, so now it's another bite strategy, right? They're
Exactly, you see how these guys are going to fight.
But
you can already imagine it.
Sleep might be very good. What about you trade bite for sleep, disengage, and take the fight after that? Maybe that's what they're thinking. They're going to make it as hard as possible because LGD heroes, they don't push out lanes very well, right? Ursa doesn't want to show and clear waves. That's not what Ursa does. Neither does Wisp. Lycan can do it to a certain extent. So the way this game should develop in the mid game is Naga is going to push out all the lanes, already making it really hard for LGD to find the fight that they're looking for. And if they ever find it and they bite the Ursa and they're ready for the fight, sleep is going to happen. They're going to disengage and take a better fight on their ground.
You also see what they can re-engage with here.
Yeah.
Like the team fight from LGD is quite simple. If Ursa's out of control and he has a Satanic and a Skadi and a Basher and he's bitten, he's a big problem in the fight. But still, if you sleep that and his 4 other heroes, if they don't have BKB, they're just going to die to the sleep Ravage. And can Ursa fight alone, even if he's bitten? I don't think so. And they're going to have the Hex, they're going to have the Net eventually, they're going to have an Anchor Smash to slow him down a bit. Like LGD's team fight is very obvious and is very committing right now. There's a few things I think that Team Spirit, they're also Radiant right now. Naga wants to live in the dire jungle and she wants to cut these 2 waves around the Roche area and push them away. If they feel like going bottom, they don't get the Roche with an Ursa strat. This is another way to also break their lineup. I think Spirit right now, they could be quite comfortable with how they can talk and approach these fights because if LGD doesn't have this bite going, doesn't have this, it's very underwhelming what their lineup does. Disruptor like an IO is not going to kill many heroes on the map.
You know, I actually thought it was LGD playing Naga. I just realized it was Team Spirit because I'm blind and I can't read. But for you guys, which draft, like from your personal perspective, which one would you prefer to play? I mean, we don't have the last picks yet, but...
I mean, I feel like LGD, they have a way to snowball the game. That's how I see it. You know, the Ursa IO timings with the Lycan, I like it. I do feel like this is one of the first times where I don't give LGD a strong upper hand on the draft. If anything, I'd maybe even give the upper hand on Team Spirit.
Let's see if there's a Tinker coming now. There's a lot of picks. I don't think Tinker got removed. Tinker versus Naga. Tinker scaling teamfight. Tinker is a huge hero.
That sounds good, because that'll help their teamfight scale into late game.
They have a huge damage issue. They have a massive, massive damage issue. Okay, Pango is also a hero that comes with a lot of potential scaling teamfight damage. If you get items.
Sleep also play. Like, they cannot disengage anymore.
Yes. It's unreliable now. The sleep, it's also a hero versus Tidehunter. Force bad ravages, kill him. Also good hero versus ET.
Very good last pick. A bit scary in the sense that it's a mid hero that can get very punished one-on-one, very weak laner against a lot of matchups. But you know, that's a lot of confidence from nothing to say. One of the best mid laners, if not the best mid laner in the tournament. And I'm sure their support are going to help, you know, with the mid lane and stuff. Very, very good pick. Very good last pick.
If I still had to choose a lineup that I would want to play, I actually have more faith in this Naga lineup. If they play well around the illusion wave push, again, I don't think Naga is the one you look for to crush the team fight. She needs to do her part. She needs to do the sleep, maybe get some illusions on some supports. But this game, in my opinion, should be looking like Tide, Lion, ET are messing with them and getting some pickoffs through the lanes, forcing TPs. Eventually, they get very far ahead, like economy-wise. And this is going to lead to more openings. Naga can maybe join the fight, get an early Scotty, kind of take over the fights with a gold advantage, or just keep playing the map.
I like how you're talking about how Naga splits up the map also, because when you have Naga Star, what I found is you want your other heroes to be able to pick off the enemy heroes, right? They already have that with Lion. They have some additional damage with ET. So if they're playing the actual Naga game, I agree with you. I can see it being very successful. One more to kill on the side lane.
Clap them when they split up.
Yeah, they split up, they try to deal with Illus, boom, the burst is going to happen. Lion, ET, Void Spirit, any hero will die 100-0. And Naga will force LGD to split up. They will force them to... They're going to cheat the map. They're going to create unfair situations, and it's going to be hard for the LGD to fix that unless they have full control of the game. This is why the laning phase is going to be incredibly important. You know, for LGD to kind of slow down what Team Spirit is putting.
I would say it's even more important for LGD to actually have good lanes for the sake of their own timings. If they don't get this Ursa threatening the Roche around minute 10+, this means the whole game is going to slow down, and Naga is going to get into the jungle, going to get these waves, Lion's going to get closer to Dagger, and if you create that, I think Team Spirit's lineup is going to be really fun to play, and it's going to be a very hard game for LGD.
Very interesting draft. I would also say that the lanes are a bit scary. I think this ET on the side lanes is completely untouched. They don't have a single stun for him. He's going to get the Spirit, and he's going to
Bottom lane is going to be fun.
Yep.
Bottom lane is going to be a lot of fun for this ET.
Very strong lanes
Miposhka
from Team
also
Spirit
feeling himself this tournament.
Yep. Miposhka ET. Scary stuff.
Yeah, Toronto getting his Void Spirit again.
Full confidence for both teams, honestly. I think at this point it's really going to come down to, who has a better idea going into this draft, and that's the beauty of Dota. It's a best of 5. It's meant to develop so much, but they're kind of getting to know each other. You know, this is what I can bring to the table, this is what you can bring, and you know, they're going to get to learn like what counters what. The meta is going to evolve a lot between the series.
And I would also like to point out that Team Spirit has been the most amazing learning team so far in this tournament. Like how they are adapting and how they're learning and how they're actually changing up their own playstyle into something new every game. But I would say every team fight, when there's a bite happening or a Pangolier roll, this is when LGD need to get something done. Because if not that, they lose. This is like their main team fighting tools.
And now we're about to start the game, and we're going to have an interview with the coach of Team Spirit Silent, along with Sumi.
Thank you very much, AUI. I'm here with Team Spirit's coach, Silent. Silent, we are in the grand finals. Yes. This is where everything comes out, right? All the strats will come out. Did you prepare anything specifically for PSG.LGD, or are you going for comfort?
Honestly, we didn't prepare anything because we wasn't have enough time. We was preparing for Team Secret, so we're just gonna play and having fun.
All right, so you're just aiming to play the game. Did you have anything specific in mind with this draft?
Not really. I was looking into their heroes and was trying to counter-pick them.
All right, well, we will see how the drafts tend to play out throughout this series. We'll take it to OD Pixel and Insania in the meantime.
Thank you very much, Sumi. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the grand finals of the International 10. Team Spirit up against PSG.LGD Insania. It's a pleasure to have you by my side once again. How excited are you to see these two teams go head-to-head in this best of 5?
I mean, I'm extremely excited. This is bringing back memories of TI6, where you had DC make the miracle run in the lower bracket and going up against Wings at the time, and you have some of the Wings players on LGD's side, so I'm feeling TI6 vibes, and I think this Game 1 draft actually looks really, really good for Spirit.
Okay, what is it in particular like about what they've done here in this first game?
I mean, I feel like, as Notail and Seb touched on, the way that the lanes are set up, I feel like they're going to have a really nice start to the game. And I feel like LGD is like really, really timing dependent, and they need to make sure that when they pop roll and they use the wolf bite on Ursa, they get a lot in the fights. And when I look at Spirit's draft, I see answers. They have the sleep, they have like 10 different stuns that they can throw out, and even if they burn the Ravage, I feel like the 4-man of their draft can still fight. So if they can get the Naga fat enough, if the Naga can ever join the fights and actually have a presence, I think their draft looks really, really nice to play.
And it's, you know, you've got to be excited to see it, right? Another game, Yatoro just continuing to show off his versatility of carry heroes. This is crazy here. Here in the grand finals, Naga Siren coming out. I mean, when you've seen how the man can play on all the list of heroes that he's pulled out so far, there's no reason to doubt that he can't pull out a top-tier performance on any of the carries available in the game.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, he's shown that he can play pretty much every single hero in the game. I've been so impressed by it. And the crazy thing is how flexible he is too, and playing like he can play hard carry one game and then the next game he's playing tempo, and this has led to, I think, Spirit having like the versatility in their draft and the ability to adapt the way they have throughout the tournament is, in my opinion, in large part because he's so versatile in his playstyle.
Yeah, I mean, as sort of a drafter, you know, when you come into a series or against Team Spirit, what do you do about the fact that they have sort of this special power in Yatoro's sort of hero pool? Like, do you just sort of ignore the carry? Do you still bother banning them out, or do you look elsewhere? Like, what is the best way to tackle this team?
I mean, if I knew the answer, I'd would have probably known how to beat them by now. But I feel like the thing is, they just seem to. You deal with collapse, then Yatoro goes out of control. You aim for Yatoro, and then you have collapse and Toronto Tokyo going out of control. And I feel like a lot of this is heavily due to the fact that they play so well around vision. When I looked at the teams throughout the tournament, I feel like what Spirit has done that no other team does nearly as well as them, and I would even bring LGD into that category, is they control vision. They're really good about playing around wards. They understand when they can fight into wards, and they understand when they have to avoid it. So I think for Team Spirit, this game is going to be a lot about can they deward LGD, remove LGD's information, and have more information to play with.
Sure. And for PSG.LGD, of course, they've managed to charge their way straight to the finals through the upper bracket. When you look at what they've got here in this first game, what is it about this lineup that's worked sort of with the play style that they've been able to just destroy teams in their run-up to the grand finals?
I mean, this looks very similar to their tiny sort of draft fight. You're going to have this one core that's going to be unbeatable. They have this mid laner that's going to provide control and lockdown for them so that he's going to be able to output damage. You have the glimpse to bring people back to the Ursa. So the concept for LGD is very much like, we're going to hit our timing, and once we do, you cannot touch us. And I think for Spirit, the problem will be, if LGD is allowed to freely just get to their timings, get that Aegis on the Ursa, where they can start ignoring the Tide Ravage, or even fighting without the Wolf Bite from the Lycan, that's when they're going to be at their strongest. So I'm expecting all hell to break loose after the laning phase.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to see it. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, finally getting into the action of Game 1 beginning between Team Spirit and PSG.LGD. Let's see if that chaos starts coming quick and fast. We know that both teams are very much able to bring it with some of the fantastic performances they've given us so far on the main stage.
Yeah, and straight away Yatoro's coming out with a really smart play. He sends his illusions within the tower range, but he puts them in an area where the tower doesn't have vision, and by doing that, he will scout out the ward immediately from LGD. And this is what I mean, right? Spirit are so on top of all of the small things that will give them any sort of information advantage, where they will have more vision than their opponents.
Let's see if they're able to maintain it throughout the early stages of the game, where it's very likely for those movements to be coming from lane to lane. See both teams avoid one another here for the bounty runes. Bit of a poke onto Maposhka, as Yatoro will still be able to grab that bounty rune. In fact, as you can see, 3 bounty runes to start things off here for Spirit, so a bit of a cash bonus to begin the lanes with.
Yeah, and that was nicely scouted out by the ET. They find information of where and how many heroes has LGD brought to which runes, and then they can split up their heroes accordingly and make sure that they get the advantage on the runes.
Let's look at some of these matchups. The mid lane, Pango versus Void Spirit, Toronto Tokyo versus Nothing to Say. what are we going to have going on here in the early few waves?
I think most likely it's going to be a pretty farm-heavy lane. I don't think really either of the two heroes are going to aim to kill each other. Probably going to be a lot of trying to push out the waves, control the runes, and then around 6 minutes when the real rune spawns, that's when you'll see both the supports collapse on a mid lane. Because I think both Pango and Void Spirit really rely on that rune control.
And looking at both sort of the side lanes, the two carries, Arme and Yatoro, who's going to have the easier time?
I think if you take a look at top lane, you see Ursa against Tidehunter is generally a pretty good lane matchup because you think of how the Fury Swipe stack up on him, and they have the sustain to tank the harassment that's coming out from Team Spirit. So I think as they level up on the top lane, I imagine the Wisp Ursa will do fairly well up top. But with that said, I think Collapse is still going to have a decent game.
Yeah, I mean, Collapse has definitely been that solid rock of a player for Spirit time after time. He's been the one that they have been very happy to give that prioritization, get his game into a good shape, so that he can be the one to lead the charge into the team fights and start the action off for Spirit in those mid-game.
Yeah, absolutely. And bottom lane, Yatoro's kind of playing this type of laning where you're not going to be pressured at all. Team LGD's priority here is just trying to get their Lycan farmed and make sure that they're like playing for their own farm. So Yatoro's going to have a great start, and he has the ability to farm up the jungle because he has the illusions that can both push out the wave and from the jungle camp. So I expect Yatoro to be leading the net worth charts as soon as we get into around the 5-minute mark of the game.
One of the reasons why Yasoro has been as scary as he can, even if the lane was a tough one, he always seems to be able to recover. So the fact that he's going to have a decent time to start off things, you know that he will be on track to hit some pretty insane CS. It really is going to be completely down to how much PSG.LGD can find in terms of getting their Ursa involved in the kills early on.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just some trade-offs going on, but you can tell already from the net worth graphs that Team Spirit has set up their lanes to have very good farm on all three of their cores.
That's certainly showing so far here on the early CS. Both side lane cores for PSG.LGD just struggling a slightly bit more. It was very early days though.
But a lot of levels coming in LGD's way. Like this Lycan is doing surprisingly fine. He's not really getting pressured that much by the Naga and the ET because he's managed to get the lane control. Yatoro's shoved out the wave, but Miposhka yet hasn't been able to get a pull to get the lane control back. So the Lycan's getting a lot of farm while Y is able to just rotate around, moves to the mid lane, opens up the small camp. And like we talked about, right, the middle lane is going to be contested in terms of like who can push out the wave the most and then go farm the small camp. And Y on top of it runs over, unblocks his mid laner small camp to make sure that he can stay even with the Void Spirit.
And when you look at sort of the tools they have available both sides with their supports, do you imagine once the 6 is there for the mids, we're going to have sort of a collapse on the mid lane to try and get the early objective, or do you think it's going to be all about reacting to the side lane fights here for the Pango and the Void Spirit?
I think it's going to be important to get the rune. Like whoever gets the first power rune of the game is going to kind of get to decide what happens. You get your bottle refilled, but you also have the ability to make a rotation as Mira.
But be in a bit of trouble here. We'll try and hold back the bear with the Hex. He's got the stick charges, but he's getting run down here by Arme. One more hit will do it. Can he close the gap? He can't. Oh, stun misses. That's going to cost him his life. Not the start there that Mira was hoping to have here in the grand finals. A whiffed ability, and that'll give up first blood to PSG.LGD.
Yeah, and Collapse isn't out of the woods quite yet. Is hungry.
They're in a bit of an awkward position now, Collapse. Stuck behind the tree line. We'll see how he gets his way out of it. He does have a TP, a little short in the mana. He'll have it back up now. Should be able to walk his way back ground, but a great bit of aggression there from PSG.LGD, just opening up some space for Arme to return to farming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice that LGD are keeping the lane control up top, so this puts Tide under constant pressure, and you never know when they might make some sort of move and try to kill him. And that forces Mira to stay in the top lane, while if you look at Y, you notice that he's just rotating around constantly. He has the freedom to move wherever he wants on the map, because the lane is so pushed out by the way that the Naga plays, and the Riptide shoving out the creeps, so the Lycan can freely farm under his tower, and the Disruptor has the freedom to decide what he wants to do.
Let's see what that call's going to be. We'll come in mid here. Toronto Tokyo taking a bit of harassment on the Thunder Strike, nothing to say. Stepping right up to him. There's a remnant at the ready though, Toronto Tokyo.
2 seconds.
He's got the protection here of the Resonant Pulse.
And great usage there of that armor. He uses the health damage of Resonant Pulse to bottle up to make sure that he's not within the kill range of the Swashbuckle from Pango.
Some good early pressure though from PSG.LGD, forcing Toronto Tokyo to be very cautious in that mid lane as early as it is, just 5 minutes in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you think about Elder Titan, you kind of think of him as a lane-dominant hero. And both Notail and Seb touched on it, right? You want to abuse the fact that LGD have no stuns. But because of how this bottom lane is played out, with the Naga lane constantly being shoved into the Lycan's tower, the Elder Titan hasn't really been able to abuse his laning phase presence.
Look at this now. There we have it. Nice bit of micro from Faith Beyond. That'll grab himself a free courier. As the Wolves chase down Poor old baby faceless Rex.
Up top, Collapse is also taking pressure now. So again, the freedom of Y, he's just allowed to rotate to mid, set up some pressure on the Void Spirit. Now he's up top, making sure he's just in their face and forcing them to react to his movement.
Yeah, he is all over the place, Y.
Yep.
Spirit, they've definitely got to try and do something in return. Yeah, they themselves bring the 2 supports up to top. Just sort of figuring out what to do about this roaming disruptor here in the early minutes of the match.
Yep, here we go. First fight for the runes. Where is it going to spawn, top or bottom?
Let's have a look. It is going to be down bottom, and it is a DD. It's going to go straight into the bottom of Toronto Tokyo, so a very nice room for him to fight with, but already up top. Spirit, they'll lose Mira.
Yeah, it's a DD Toronto Tokyo though. Let's see how he can respond back with it, because now you have a Pangolier with low mana, and he's going to be aware of it. So he knows that he can make a move here, and the Pangolier won't really be able to respond.
Yeah, this is an excellent room for Toronto Tokyo to find it. He's going to use it straight away. Goes aggressive. He's going to miss the Dissimilate though. A couple of hits will do it. Can he quite close the gap? No, he's not going to be able to get the second hit in. Nothing to say, steps away. I mean, that would have been such a big kill for him to find. He got the dream room for it, but he couldn't quite get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate, but, you know, that's Dota. Disruptor, though, he's going to TP into the middle lane here. I'd be scared to do this. Let's see if Toronto Tokyo has the will to chase him down.
Yeah, he's still got this DD going for a few seconds. Why? Living on the edge a little bit. Yep. Toronto Tokyo feels that he can get in with the Astral Step. Why knows? He's keeping his distance.
Yeah, and if you take a look at the net worth, you see Yatoro. He's just going to start accelerating his farm even more, but I'm impressed by how well the Ursa's been able to keep up. And this is largely due to the fact that they had lane control for so long up in the top lane, and they were able to just keep their heroes, the enemy heroes, so close to the tower, so Tide could never really feel free to
Arme. He's going to try and step over for Mira, but again, Team Spirit, they've kept their 2 supports up here, both Mira and Maposhka, making sure that there's never the opportunity for Arme to get any kills up here right now. As you say, Arme doesn't care too much. Complete free farm, level with that of Yatoro's Naga Siren. He's having no struggles whatsoever, but Spirit just trying their best to limit anything else going into the hands of the Ursa this early.
Yeah, and you notice the Naga in the bottom lane now. She's just going to put her illusions on the lane, push out the waves, while she farms the jungle camps close by, and try to get ahead of the Ursa by doing this constantly. And LGD are going to try to match by using the Wisp Overcharge to allow the Ursa to farm. And we notice both these teams are so good at stacking, and here we go again. Runes are spawning.
And Toronto Tokyo is going to be the focus. Quick jump away from the Rolling Thunder.
Yeah, it's an Arcane Rune secured though, so if they can manage to survive these 70 seconds and nothing too bad happens, this is a huge rune for them to have.
All about these power runes early on, especially in a game, 8 minutes in, only the 2 kills so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tension, right? Neither team really has anything to do yet, and they're both drafting for slightly later timings in the game. The Tidehunters now finally hit level 6, so if there's an opening, look for some sort of rotation. I think it's hard to go for the Ursa, so there might even be the possibility of the Tidehunter rotating out of this lane.
Sure.
And making some sort of move with Toronto Tokyo.
When you just look at the heroes that PSG.LGD have at their disposal, and you feel that Spirit, they're just not going to want to try and push into that tier 1 quite yet.
I think for Spirit, your expectation was to do slightly better in the lanes, but they haven't really been able to do so.
See, it's alright. Getting gone on here by the 2 of them, but the Rolling Thunder not quite ready again. Not quite yet. They'll get the glimpse back, but no further damage to come onto the Naga Siren, so Yatoro will be fine.
Yeah, a little bit of miscommunication there, it seems. The shield crash wasn't used on the hero. The glimpse came in a little bit later.
Well, they've got their eyes on Arme. As they know, that play was made by a couple of PSG.LGD inside their own jungle, but Arme, he's out of reach of the Remnant. He's away. Space is there. Down bottom. Faith Beyond continues to push. The tier 1 to fall already here on Spirit's side of the map.
Yeah, I think this is the most shocking part of this early game, because I expected the Lycan kind of get zoned out by the Naga and the Naga Illusions to defend them, but...
Let's see if they can get Army. They've got 4 heroes working on him right now.
Ravage.
He has the ult up. He's on the retreat up to the high ground, but they'll be able to get in front of him, close off his escape. Spirit will finally be able to claim their first kill here in the first 10 minutes, getting themselves on the board.
Yeah, and this is a huge kill because it allows for Team Spirit to now start firing back and taking over this top lane area. They need this tower to fall. And meanwhile, this is the response you see from PSG.LGD. They rotate their heroes mid to try to force Spirit away from the top tower and force them to come defend their mid tower as the more valuable tower for the later Roshan.
And they're hitting these timings, PSG.LGD, no doubt about it, and Spirit just having to let them do so.
Yeah, I mean, this Lycan really has becoming the big X factor. I don't think Spirit expected him to be this strong out of the laning phase. And now Am is going to comfortably move into his triangle. and start farming up. I think once he hits that Diffusal Blade, look to see Spirit LGD trying to make some move. But I think if LGD gets to farm up right now, they feel like they've hit they have enough map space to where they're comfortable playing around their cooldowns and just waiting for the Disruptor ultimate to come online, wait for the Lycan to finish up his items, and then just play around his forms together with the power runes that the Pangolier is securing.
I mean, in this sort of game where, you know, both teams playing as carefully as they are, just 1 to 2, coming up to 11 minutes, do you look at the Naga Siren and feel that for Spirit, if they can keep this game in pretty calm waters and not allow the early aggression from PSG.LGD to get to them too much, this Naga Siren will be able to carry out in the later stages, or do PSG.LGD always have the means to deal with her?
I think to some extent you are happy, but I feel like you wanted the laning phase to go better so that LGD's timings come later into the game. So knowing that your lanes haven't quite gone the way you wanted them to, they must feel like, okay, at some point now, once LGD gets items, they're going to come running at us.
Look at this Storm, nothing to say. He's going to get the lead in onto Collapse. He'll drop the Static Storm as well, putting no chance of Collapse being able to return fire quite yet with a potential Ravage. Doesn't matter though, he's able to walk out to the side. They'll go for the Glimpse back on him. He'll simply look for the TP out, and there's nothing to put a stop to it. Collapse, realizing his strength here with a Hood of Defiance, he's got enough tank ability to just TP out of it all. That's the Rolling Thunder and the Static Storm put to waste there by PSG.LGD.
Yeah, great jukes. He just dodged out the Pangolier spells, and once the Rolling Thunder missed, he knew that he was safe. Glimpse is used, TP out. Just great presence of mind there from Collapse, knowing exactly how to play his situation out and get out safely. I love what LGD are doing though. If you take a look at the top lane, this is one of the things I loved about how OG ran the Wisp in the position 3. They recognize that Wisp's item timings are really important for you to keep these heroes alive, because if you think about how healing works in Dota, heroes keep growing their hero pool, like health pools, but the healing items are static amounts of heals. So 250 health on a hero that has 1000 HP is like a lot more than it is on a hero that has 3000 HP. So if you hit these heal item timings early into the game, that really enables you, and they've given Xingqiu the top lane to sit here and farm comfortably.
See down bottom, Wang, quite a dangerous position here. The side of the jungle had seen Spirit in Toronto, Tokyo will be quick to put a stop to it.
Naga Siren also closing in on the Mantha, and by the looks of it, she's going to get that item before Ursa even completes his Diffusal Blade. So Yatoro's probably very happy in this game, feeling comfortable with how it's going right now.
And when you look at sort of what they have against him, do you feel that a lot of the map is pretty safe for this Naga Siren to farm in? As long as the Song and the TP's up, will he get away most of the time?
I mean, most likely. I think the tricky thing here, if you're LGD, is how do we deal with the illusions? How do we deal with the Naga putting illusions in our jungle that will scout out our movement and force us to play away from Roshan? Because as Dyer here, Notail and Seb also very touched on this a lot, the Ursa wants Aegis. This is his most key item, especially when you're going up against big cooldowns like Ravage, like Finger, Earth Splitter. You know these long cooldowns, people don't want to use them on your Aegis, so it's going to be important for him to get it. And the Naga, as long as he's able to play top and put illusions in the top Dyer jungle, it's really hard. Like, what are you going to do? Because their heroes don't have ways to effectively kill the illusions.
And you feel that Spirit, their lineup, it's geared up pretty well to deal with the fact that PSG.LGD will look for the Roshan. They won't be afraid of turning up and trying to put a stop to it.
I mean, I think that's where the information game is going to be important. Can Spirit actually use the vision that they're getting to fight off LGD's timing? Because I think that is like the big question mark. Is the Ursa going to be too strong for you to kill? Or is it enough to just sleep away half the wolf fight duration and then try to fight them afterwards?
I think we're definitely going to see Yatoro start to increase the lead against Arme. Bottom lane White, he'll drop the Static Storm, trying to save himself, but Collapse and Maposhka will run him down, take him out. Faith Beyond, he's looking to get involved in this with the backup of Nothing to Say being brought over by Xingqiu. They will get Maposhka. Can the three of them get Collapse? They're trying to commit their best onto him. They will leave the two cores behind as Xingqiu trying to let Nothing to Say and Faith Beyond finish the job, but they just can't. The damage isn't there. Toronto Tokyo is also starting to sweep over, so PSG.LGD, they have to back up and just accept the trade as it is, the support for support.
Yeah, and Collapse now knowing that, you know what, they can't actually kill me without the Ursa. It's only the Ursa that can threaten my life. Just comfortably sits bottom alone, pushes out the waves, gaining as much farm as he can. And in the meanwhile, Yatoro just pushes out top lane, farming out all these top jungle camps. If you take a look at the Dire jungle, there are no camps alive.
I mean, Yatoro's farm, he is creeping further and further ahead of Arme's Ursa. You know, if there's not going to be any blood being spilt and it is just the creeps dying, this Naga Siren is just going to charge ahead in regards to farm. Yatoro is going to be huge.
Yeah, and he's going for a very interesting build. He's buying the Aghanim Scepter, and the Aghanim Scepter allows him to use his Ensnare on heroes that are either slept by his ulti or spell immune. So this will give them a way to deal with BKBs. And traditionally, the way you deal with, for example, a Tidehunter Ravage is by buying a BKB. Or in this case, you have the Pangolier with Rolling Thunder. So he's actually going to be able to lock down the Pangolier during his Rolling Thunder with his net. It's a very, very smart item decision here from the Naga.
A very long lockdown and reduced cooldown and increased cast range. He's going to have no trouble finding the target that he wishes every single team fight.
Yep. LGD also heavily reliant on the Pangolier for the lockdown, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him use it, specifically just to make sure the Pango can't roll over his teammates.
And I guess sort of the smart approach with this item is the fact that this sort of deals with this timing where PSG.LGD is going to be more ready to fight than he is, right? He can just sort of be the anti-fight. He just stops it, gets out of there, can keep playing his game. And certainly one of the crucial parts of PSG.LGD's initiation, it's shut down completely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Spirit, that's the name of the game, right? Can we drag this game on? And literally slowing him down during his roll, forcing his timing to be unable to be used, is just exactly what Spirit are looking for in this game. But yeah, we're starting to see items gear up on LGD's side. If you take a look at the Lycan, his timing is really going to be the big thing. But I think Spirit have won the early game in that there's no Roshan killed yet. And that means the second Roshan is going to spawn slower, and that's no Aghanim Shard for Ursa for the first half hour of the game.
I mean, if you're PSG.LGD right now, what sort of calls are you making? Are you looking at an item that's round the corner and then saying we've got to go? Do they need to go right now? Yeah, how urgent do they need to be?
I think they looks like they're gearing up to look for an opportunity, right? You finished up the Helm of the Overlord. The Ursa now has his Diffusal Blade. Your Wisp is closing in on mech. You already have the Holy Locket. So there's a lot of nice tools for LGD to take a straight-up team fight if Team Spirit presented to them.
Siame. It's going to start with a bit of a tickle onto Toronto Tokyo. The Remnant holds back the bear. Quick jump out with the steps. Nothing to say. He's trying to close in. Does he want to keep diving underneath the tier 2? Maybe trying to get some vision for a setup from the Disruptor, but now Team Spirit, they're far enough away. Nothing to say. We're going to hit with the Swashbuckler. The procs of the Maelstrom nearly bringing him down, but Toronto Tokyo gets away. And as low HP as he is, Collapse also able to TP out as there's nothing else to stop his escape. Team Spirit, they're able to avoid the move completely by PSG.LGD once again.
Yeah, and they didn't even have to involve the Naga. So during all of this time, Yatora's still just gaining farm. He's 2,000 gold ahead of the Ursa already.
Oh my, this is going to be a problem.
He's getting out of control. He's only, I believe he just finished his Aghanim Scepter too. So he has Manta and Aghanim Scepter at 17 minutes into the game. He's crazy farm.
This is, I mean, Yatora, it really has been eyes on him throughout the whole tournament and performance of Spirit. Top lane setups there with a net. That's the mid gone. Nothing to say. Going down, Yatora. Instant Song TP as he knows the response will be there from PSG.LGD. Gets out. They cannot catch him. Yatora will continue to farm.
Yeah, this is a really important kill, but by forcing the Naga Siren to TP out, LGD now have the option of potentially taking back control of their jungle. So this is going to be their objective for the next minute here. As you see, they're going to try to contest this Tidehunter. They know the Naga Siren is not present.
See what they can do about Collapse. Jump already in onto the Disruptor. They're looking to burst. Collapse, he's holding on to the Ravage for now. Static Storm's down. Collapse gets himself out of the side of the Ravage. Onto the 2, and then they blow up Arme. It's 3 dead at the moment on PSG.LGD. IO also caught out. GQ to fall.
That's absolutely massive.
My goodness.
Team Spirit's so aware of everything. They know that this is what LGD wants to do. The Naga TP'd out. They're going to come contest us. They position their heroes perfectly. You see the kinetic field come out, but there's no static storm to fall because you have the Lion in position to interrupt that. It's just Spirit are playing so well right now. They're just recognizing where LGD's timings are.
It just seems like already, just in the first 18 minutes of this game 1 of the Grand Finals, Team Spirit, they're just completely in the heads of PSG.LGD. The way that PSG.LGD wanted to play, it's just not happening. They're crumbling, they're falling apart. And Yatora, he's just going to continue the glory. Mid lane, the setups there onto the Pango. Nothing to say, goes down. Another kill for this Naga Siren. I do not know or see how on earth PSG.LGD is going to stop this man this game.
He's getting out of control, and if you look at the Lycan, you can see he decided to not go for the Aghanims. He's going for drums. They're gearing up for a quicker timing in this game. I think the mechanism comes out on Xingqiu. They get the BKB finished up on Ame, and they're going to look for some sort of team fight. But the way that Team Spirit are abusing the vision, if you take a look at the map, like there are almost no dire wards anywhere. Radiant are in firm control of where the vision is, and the only ward that they have, I think Mikosha literally just pinged out. There you go. Just controlling the vision. They have more information to play with, and this is what's allowing Team Spirit to constantly be reading LGD and how they're moving around the map.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Bottom. Toronto Tokyo, he'll show his face, but not worried about any catch from PSG.LGD. They just don't have the members around. Space is made, the tier 2 tower going down at the top lane. There won't be any defense from PSG.LGD here as Spirit just continue to hit the timings, take the objectives at a pace that PSG.LGD's lineup will be incredibly jealous of. This is what they wanted to be doing, and it's happening the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. They are starting to finish up some key items though. You see the Pangolier now has a Blink Dagger, so they have an easier form of initiation rather than just trying to run at them with a roll. So if Team Spirit heroes start getting cocky and playing alone, there is a way for LGD to respond and punish. Very close to this mechanism on the Wisp as well. It's just 100 gold away, and this really is the Wisp's big timing. You have both the Holy Locket and the mech to heal up the Ursa, and Ursa's closing in on BKB, so I'm smelling a fight in the waters, Owen.
Yeah, the next one, it's got to be strong from PSG.LGD. Another rough fight, and this game could quickly fall out of control.
Yeah, and as strong as a Naga Siren is when she's playing this kind of map game and she's able to get the pickoffs, she isn't the strongest hero to fight up against the Ursa. So if you think about how these heroes function against each other, the Naga can't really fight up against the Ursa straight up. So if LGD is able to corner Team Spirit and they can take a fight where it's just a straight up 5v5 with the BKB and the mechanism finished, that could be an amazing timing for them. But Spirit don't want to allow that, so they're deciding to smoke up and make the move on their own first.
Let's see if they catch PSG whilst they least expect it. BKB is out for Arme.
Why?
So let's start things off. They'll go for Y. Take the Disruptor out of the action.
And Disruptor's a really key kill, because if the Disruptor isn't alive in the fight, they can't really go for Collapse. Look at Collapse's itemization. This is so smart. He's going for the Yules together with the Hood and a Blink Dagger. And why is this interesting? Because if you're inside of a Static Storm, and you Yule yourself, and you have the Hood up, and there's no physical damage to hit you, you can actually just blink straight out of it. So just really, really smart item decisions coming out of Collapse here.
Well, we'll definitely have to look out for that play. Would be a rather impressive outpost, taken back into the hands of Spirit. And keeping full control around this area, this Roshan, as you say, which is just sort of it's a long distant dream, it seems, for PSG.LGD. They're never getting anywhere close to this pit until they're able to find the fight that they've been hunting for the whole 22 minutes of this game. They'll smoke up now, ready to go. PSG.LGD, they have to find success here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a quick look at Lycan before the fight breaks out, he's decided not to go for the wolf fight. They recognize that they won't be able to play the strat the way they intended for it to. So he's going to be building up some damage items as well.
Smoke. We'll dispel here on Toronto Tokyo. Same move is set for PSG.LGD. They know that both teams are waiting here up to the side of the river on the respective edges. And now, Arme, he's going to sneak into the Roche, start to try and take it out here.
Yeah, for the first time in this game, they've been allowed to take back the Dire Jungle and try to apply some pressure to Roche. So I expect Team Spirit also recognize that, you know what, we've given up the Dire Jungle. What would LGD do with that? Well, they would go to Roshan. So
see Spirit check this out. Arme's going to slow it down a little bit. The Spirit's coming in. They know that they know. Stop in. Onto the IO. They're going to lead it. There's the jump straight away. They're looking to burst through the IO. And then the Aegis to fall into the hands of Arme. Arme's able to get the Roche kill, get the Aegis. They get the Static Storm down. The Rolling Thunder has won. They've controlled Toronto Tokyo. But he's out with an Astral Step. Toronto Tokyo actually makes it out of there. Dissimulate as well. PSG.LGD may have got the Roche. They may have got the Aegis. Toronto Tokyo will still go down as Faith Beyond was able to wrap around and find him.
Yeah, really nice play there from LGD. What an unfortunate event there for Xingqiu. He gets pulled into the Roche pit. You really want to stay outside with a tether, but stay tethered to Ame, but he takes one step too close, and then the Wisp comes inside the Roche pit, which gives Spirit the perfect opportunity there to go in, but I don't think they were quite expecting the BKB, so all in all, I think they're happy with this. You know, they gave up the Aegis, but it took them 24 minutes to get there. So Roshan number 2, which really is Ursa's key timing in this game, to get that shard so that he can play most of the fights enraged, is going to come much, much later than they expected.
But definitely the beginnings of PSG.LGD getting this game back under their control.
Yeah, absolutely. Now they need to abuse the fact that they have the Aegis to try to gain some map control here. You want to try to get the lanes pushed out, force Team Spirit to play reactive to you, and then once you are able to corner them in, you're going to find that team fight that you so much want. So the hard part here for them is how do we deal with the Naga illusions, and how do we stop them from just using illusions to push the lanes back and make us play the map game.
I mean, yeah, which hero are you sort of putting in charge of dealing with that?
I mean, they picked the Pangolier as an answer, right? And if you look at his itemization, he's going for the Maelstrom. He's trying to have some more damage and have some more presence to kill the illusions. And luckily for him, Yatora hasn't really bought any items that tank the illusions up. He's more so building his hero up so that he's able to fight into the Ursa. He's going for that Bloodthorn. It looks like he's going to follow it up with a Heart, so he's also gone for some sort of hybrid build where he can actually get solo kills if he catches people out alone.
And for Spirit right now, despite the Aegis falling into the hands of Arme, are you still very willing to fight? How much do you need to respect this Aegis on the bear?
I think, teamfight bottom. Xingqiu's in trouble.
Xingqiu will manage to make his way around the Remnant. Quick tether back over to the safety of Arme.
Yeah, I mean, for Spirit, I think you want to fight, but it needs to be the right fight. You ideally want Yatoro to try to force some hero around the map, and then once you know that the PSG.LGD's heroes aren't in position to connect, then you can go for some sort of smoke. Then you can make that move. But the difficulty for them is you can't necessarily go on the Ursa. You don't have the tools to bring him down at the start of a team fight.
Got the eyes on the two of them bottom. PSG.LGD, Arme and Jinkyu. On their own down here for now. There is a relocate available, and of course with the Aegis, Arme a very hard target to jump. Pressure continues from Yatoro and his illusions in the mid lane, keeping these waves shoved right up towards the base of PSG.LGD.
And down bottom, Team Spirit are just waiting patiently, but LGD have recognized that they TP'd bottom, right? So it's very likely that their heroes are stuck on that side of the map. So here they come sweeping up towards the Dire jungle, understanding that Spirit cannot already have moved their pieces from all the way from bottom back to top after the TP response to the tier 2 tower. So just smart play coming out from both sides. I think we saw this in the VP Spirit series. Team Spirit are going to be really, really smart about only fighting under their vision, or where they feel comfortable that they have the information they need to take the fight. I think in this way, LGD's like maybe sometimes a little bit more reckless and will play with like assumptions. Like if they see you bottom, they might try to aim to fight you top, which we saw earlier. And in the early game, you know, Spirit read that perfectly. So if Spirit's able to get a good read like that, you might see them pounce.
Yatoro very ready to enter the fights now with his aggressive item of the Bloodthorn complete. They're able to get that locked down with the stuns, with the Lion and the Tide. That amp up of the damage will allow them to just destroy whichever hero they target.
Yep, and something that I noticed Team Spirit do a lot when they feel like they're on the back foot is take over the enemy triangle and try to set up control here. And this is something that I'm sure LGD are aware of too, but Lycan's in trouble.
Yep, they've got the setup here. You see the damage here with the Bloodthorn really amping up. It's not quite enough though. Faith Beyond makes it away, has the plate mill and Hyperstone done already onto the way to the AC. An additional bit of armor certainly helping out.
Yeah, and this is an opening now for Spirit. The Lycan form is down. One of the big tools in this team fight is gone. So in the other series when we saw LGD play the tiny Lycan, the Lycan's form himself doesn't really matter. It was all about that wolf bite. But in this game, because he decided to itemize his own hero, the 60 seconds of downtime here is quite big. And you see LGD pulling back their pieces, not willing to play aggressive on the top lane anymore, recognizing that they don't have all the tools necessary to win a team fight.
Yeah, Team Spirit remaining in this whole area of the triangle. Yatoro slowly sieging onto the tier 1 tower, seeing what sort of reaction they can force out of PSG.LGD. 20 seconds until that Aegis has gone off Arme. Unlikely to find a fight with that still in his hands, so the game once again falling into a bit of a risky territory for PSG.LGD, at least until they can hold off for that second round of Roshan.
Yeah, and Illusion's just slowly chipping away at this tower. They don't really deal a lot of damage, but it's something that, you know, LGD might respond to. So they're keeping heroes close by that in case LGD just feel like, oh, it's just an illusion hitting our tower, they're ready to pounce. And you see, Nothing to Say reads that too. He understands based on the fact that there's nothing happening on any of the other lanes. Both our middle lane is pushing out, top lane's pushing out. Lycan's getting a lot of farm from all these waves right now. He recognizes all the Team Spirit heroes are bottom here.
Yeah, he has to be so careful showing his face to clear the wave.
Yeah, both teams just reading the map really, really well. And I think Spirit, this play that they've done has been so effective throughout all the tournament. But you know LGD's done their homework.
Looking up, spot Collapse around, glimpse back with Blinks there. Collapse breaks the combo, the setup. Instantly going to go for the TP out. If they got anything to put a stop to it, they do, straight away. They're able to get the setup onto Collapse, he'll look to run. But the damage is done. PSG.LGD, they catch and kill off the Tide.
Yeah, and this is a result, right, of Team Spirit has been in the lower bracket, so they've been playing so many games. LGD has that information based on previous games of where does Team Spirit go when they feel like they're behind? What do they do? What is their approach? And I think LGD is one of the best teams at the tournament at just abusing this information that they're gaining about the teams. They understand what is Team Spirit specifically going to do? How do they approach the situation? And they find that smoke because of that. They're playing most of this game with very, very limited vision. I really want to point that out. Like they barely have vision of what's going on the map.
Well, even without their Tide, Spirit maintaining their aggressive posture over PSG.LGD's half of the map and already looking for action once again around the bottom tier 2. See if they find the setup. They've got the Hex, they're going to look to jump in. Static Storm's going to be put down from Y. Stops the backup coming in. Still though, is it the burst enough? It is! They take down Arme. That burn for the Bloodthorn, it's enough to send the bear back to base.
That's an absolutely massive kill. And I think Xingqiu felt like he could keep him alive. There was no relocate out. So next team fight, here's the tricky part. Do you relocate Ame out as soon as he gets hexed? Because Spirit has now proven to you that we have the abilities to burst your heroes. That's why he's also in trouble.
It should be another one. It's definitely another one, Yatoro. Target to target and over towards the mid. The BKB having to be popped by nothing to say. See if Yatoro's got the setup. He has. There's the initial route. See if they've got any further follow-up here. The relocate. They'll take him out. They've got to keep nothing to say safe.
Yeah.
Get him away from Team Spirit as Team Spirit, they're pushing down the mid onto another tier 2 tower.
Nice play by Faith Beyond. Tanks that Aether Remnant with one of his wolves. But Team Spirit, they're doing this so smart, right? We heard the draft panel touch on it. Fighting 5 versus 5 is not really where they're strong. They want to delay this game, keep finding these pickups, try to find these opportunities where they can get a jump, burst someone really quickly, and use the fact that we have Ravage to reset, we have Naga Sleep to reset, which is forcing LGD to be very careful about how they use their cooldowns. And this is leading to them they're just playing this game very well. And these small decisions that they're making, where you notice they're not really charging into the enemy. They're not giving LGD the kind of fights that they're used to getting.
I mean, and with the heart done on Yatoro, you know, 26 armor, 3,500 HP, how hard is it for PSG.LGD to really ever get on top of him now and take him out with the focus of Arme's Ursa?
I think the biggest thing is that the illusions are tankier. If you take a look at how Yatoro is playing the fights, he's staying very far back with his primary hero, using the Bloodthorn and using the Ensnare, and having the illusions deal the damage. And if LGD really don't have heroes that want to hit illusions, Ursa wants to sit on top of a hero, like just keep hitting him, keep hitting him, keep hitting him. You don't want to hit these illusions where you get like 5 to 6 hits in, and then you got to switch over to the next one. That's a way of making the Overpower a fairly useless ability.
Of course, that timer that they'll be having in their mind, the Roshan. Potential respawn in just over a minute.
And that minute feels really long, Owen. Let me tell you, right now, if you're PSG.LGD, that minute is coming very, very slowly. We see Tidehunter starting to eye up a Shiva's guard. That's going to make it even harder for the Ursa to stick on top of him and deal damage. They also just bought a Force Staff on the Elder Titan. I think for Team Spirit, they're recognizing that, you know what? LGD's not going to be able to kill us if we're just able to kite out their BKBs. And that's why you notice, like, Nothing to Say also has bought a BKB. I think the idea of this is he wants to try to use it to break out of, to have a longer period of time in the teamfights where he's playing under Magic Community, because there's just so much lockdown coming out from Team Spirit. Go Scepter on Mira. Toronto Toki has Yules and the Kaya Sanj, also eyeing up on the Shiva's guard, but I would be surprised if he doesn't change it up. And on the courier, he has a full BKB too, so I'm really liking Spirit for this game one. They're in a very dominant position here. They're scaling up very nicely.
With the timer, they know it's going to be around the point where PSG.LGD are going to be checking out that Roche pit, looking for the respawn. Spirit, they're heading over to try and do something about the presence. They're going to jump straight in on the Xingqiu, burst with the finger. As the IO goes down, no buyback. Xingqiu cannot get back into this fight. Nothing to Say has to roll out with the Thunder.
So this is huge, right? Both Lycanform was committed, as well as the Pangolier roll. So if the Roshan spawns, which it does, this is free Roshan for Team Spirit. And remember how much we talked about how badly you want this for LGD. It doesn't even matter if the Sagas comes to use for Yatoro, they just want to make sure that PSG.LGD doesn't get it. And this is the only shard, Aghanim's shard, that has dropped from Roshan throughout the entire game. So that's 1,400 gold that now Ame is going to have to spend for himself.
I mean, it just goes to show how solid of a position that Spirit are in, where just a couple of ults expired by PSG.LGD and a dead IO, and suddenly the rest of the lineup, they cannot do anything about Spirit taking the Roche. Continuing their lead here, 7k up. I mean, Yatoro, he himself, 7k difference between him and Arme's farm. Well on the way to having a butterfly complete for the next bit of action as well.
Yeah, and with this butterfly, he actually has the option of now utilizing his own hero too, once the situation looks good for him, because the Ursa can't just burst him. The bash is going to miss, there's a proc chance on the bash, there's a proc chance on the miss, so it's going to be hard for the Ursa to just lock him down. And just very intelligently itemized by the Naga here. For the early part of the game, when he knew it was going to be a map control game, he bought the Orchid, he bought the Ags, played for the map, looked for those pickoffs, and those key pickoffs have really led to the situation that they're in the game now. Jambot picked up by Y. You can feel, they feel the pressure of the vision. They're not getting the vision that they're used to. They don't have the information that they're used to playing with in this game. Miposhka is just shutting them down. Oh. And Rage forced out.
just going to have to stay well away from Spirit. 4 very, very scary minutes of Aegis on Toronto, Tokyo. PSG.LGD, they do not want to fight into this, but every minute that passes where they cannot look to brawl is going to be another just minute of pain here with the increasing momentum and mass of the cause of Team Spirit.
Yeah. And surely right now, PSG.LGD are discussing how do we take a team fight? What is it that we need to do? How do we need to use our abilities in order to catch Team Spirit off guard? And for Team Spirit, I think a lot of the communication is like, we need to make sure that we do not let LGD come out on the map. We don't want them to get out and farm. As long as we can keep them locked into their base, we can get all the items that we want, and then we get the fight that we want. And everything's going to happen on our terms. So you see, they rotate over to the top side here, expecting LGD to run out on the top side of the map. And here we go.
It's time to look at that fight, PSG.LGD. Execution has to be immaculate.
Yeah, they're scouting with the Wolves. They're getting the info they want.
They're looking to try and start to collapse, but Collapse is able to blink away from the lead-in. They'll turn their attention over towards Yatoro, but with the instead looks to hold him back. Nothing to say, is able to get out of it. As they'll get the static storm set up onto the Naga Siren, but the illusions, they're just forcing back. Why? Swashbuckle's going to miss. I mean, Yatoro, he's barely been scratched. He's back up to full HP. PSG.LGD, they're able to run back to base, but Collapse, he's in with the ravage onto the two of them. Silence down onto Arme, pop the BKB, turn towards Toronto, Tokyo, but they cannot stay for this fight. They've got to get back to the high ground, back to the base, as PSG.LGD having to charge back to the safety of their high ground as quickly as they head out. Collapse. Gonna look for the setup here outside of the base, another BKB force. Faith Beyond trying to head back to the safety of his teammates. The ensnare locks him down, the illusion's starting to go to work. Remnant left in the position, they drag it back with a split into the finger. My goodness, the Lycan gets absolutely destroyed. And Toronto Tokyo's not done. Diving up to the tier 4s, committing with the dissimulate. He's trying to go for GQ, will die underneath the towers, but he's got the Aegis. He's ready for round 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the micro decision making from Team Spirit is so beautiful to watch. I think every time a hero pops BKB, within half a second, there's a Naga net flying at it. And in the fight, you saw Ame pop BKB to try to man up and fight. And then the net comes, immediately he has to pop his ultimate. He can't use the Enrage the way he wants to. He's forced to use it defensively all the time just to break the net, just to be able to stick on top of the targets.
Just trying to clear out these illusions now. It seems all but impossible. The Rex dying, the melee Rex will fall. They'll get the jump on Yatoro, but they've already lost Wyatt at the start of the action. BKB from Arme, he's trying to stay on target, but Yatoro is able to sing their way back to safety. And now he's ready to go back in. The song ends, Toronto, Tokyo, BKB up, jump over with the Remnant, grabs back the Ursa. Arme disappears in a matter of seconds. GQ to fall as well. GG is called. And my goodness, what a buttery smooth start to the grand finals here for Team Spirit. They couldn't have played this any better, Aiden. This is how you dream of entering a grand finals at the International.
Yes, absolutely. Just everything they're doing, they're firing on all cylinders. Their macro understanding of the game, how LGD might try to sneak out of base, they're in position to cover it. And then once that fight happens, they're immediately ready to respond in the right way.
I mean, that was incredible. Yatoro turning up, doing it again, another hero, and it looks like it's a performance that's on top of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yatoro, I mean, we all talked about Collapse so much throughout this tournament, but we gotta give Yatoro the praise he deserves. His hero pool is so wide, it's just allowing Spirit to constantly have these conditions, win conditions, over their opponents.
And it really is, just not the fact that he himself is so individually skilled on these numerous carries. It's just that the team, they seem to have a strat to play around every single one that he's willing to pull out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Team Spirit are so strong. They look like a fierce opponent, and I think a lot of people might have expected LGD to be the stronger team, but, you know, they just proven you wrong. These guys can beat LGD for sure.
They absolutely can. What a way to start this grand finals. Team Spirit just charging in with the same level of strength that they have shown us throughout their entire run so far up until this point. It's continuing here where it counts the most. Game 1 will go to Team Spirit.
A very strong performance from Team Spirit here in that first game, indeed. And I am looking forward to hearing from our 5-head draft panel, first of all. Gentlemen, how did this game play out compared to what you thought was going to happen?
I mean, I think it was an incredible statement from Spirit. It started with the draft. It started with the mentality in which they played this game. You know, they come here to the grand finals, and of course, everybody expects LGD to be the Titan. You know, can they move them? not only they can, they beat them, they play fearless, they come up with a great strategy. They beat probably LGD's best strategy. Their first pick, the IO Lycan, they just break it. I think, as a Dota fan, this is what I was really hoping for, is like, can they compete? And yes, they can. LGD is getting tested today, and that's going to be absolutely amazing to witness.
Team Spirit seems to be playing very free, very careless, very aggressive. This Bloodthorn kill on the Ursa bottom was, like you said, a huge statement. I want to say the same thing. This was like a team who saw an opening, they had an item build, they had a timing that not many teams would have pushed, played on, and pulled this off with. This Ursa dying in front of tier 2 also breaks the game at this point, and it's like, it's a very intense game. LGD, they're not broken by any means. They go for this Roshan play, they actually get it, and they're staying alive in a game where I think it's actually looking really hard, and it's really hard for them to scale, it's really hard for them to fight. I think the draft still favored Spirit. I think LGD were not so comfortable with how it ended up looking like. They're much more comfortable if they have a condition where it's like, in 20 minutes we're going to be stronger, in 30 minutes we're going to be stronger, much stronger than you, and we keep scaling. But in this game, with the ET, with the Naga Sleep, with the Ravage, you saw it, like fights can end like this for LGD.
Yeah, and I think this was almost a bit of a wake-up call for Xiaowei and LGD, because I think they came into it supremely confident. I think we were even saying, like, maybe they might have even prepared for Team Secret. They weren't expecting Team Spirit to, like, just roll through everyone. And I think LGD, they can make a comeback, but at Spirit, they looked really good in that game. Just everything they wanted to do during that game looked really strong.
Yeah, thank you very much, gentlemen, for that insight. Love to hear more, of course, from you during the draft of game number 2, and that is where we, of course, will be heading next, because it's a best of 5. It's all about learning and adapting. And you heard Curtis say that maybe PSG.LGD did not know, like, that they were going to face Team Spirit. I will tell you that not a single person on the planet has had a correct bracket prediction. A little bit of extra information there. So there are 4 people on the planet that have had 20 out of 21 predictions correct. So that's very nice. And actually, this morning, there was only 1 person on the planet that still had a correct prediction, but they thought it was Secret that was going to move on. So, hey, it's all up in the air from here, and Team Spirit take game 1. Lizard, it's been an amazing opening game.
It's been incredible, especially when you go back and listen to what Silent said after the draft. He's like, yeah, we're just gonna play the game. We didn't prepare too much for them. We had Secret on our mind. It definitely didn't look that way. The way they set up the team fights, the way they moved across the map. Draft aside, the way they anticipated PSG.LGD and what they will do and prepared for it and counter-attacked them. It was incredible.
Yeah, PSG.LGD end the game with 5 kills. That is like, and with an Ursa draft, like that's just kind of unheard of, and exactly how that draft is not meant to play out. If you're playing an Ursa and 25 minutes and you have 5 kills, there's a big problem.
Yeah, and I definitely want to piggyback on something that No-Tail is talking about. I think every single game that I got to either cast or every single game that I reviewed, looking over PSG.LGD, even for months now, they always drafted themselves a win condition for later stages. This is one of the few games where I think as soon as that Naga's picked, they're like, uh-oh, we actually need to find something to counter this, to play fast with. I think that's why they went for this Pango. And I think it was just a genius idea, a genius draft plan from Spirit throughout the whole thing.
A genius draft plan, indeed. It looked so strong from them. Was there any chance for PSG.LGD to defend high ground after it went so awry in the early stages, God?
I felt like once things started going wrong, there wasn't a comeback. They needed to get ahead early and then snowball from there, going from Roshan kills to hero kills, and just really, get this massive lead that just kept on growing. So once this Naga, illusion started coming online and pushing out waves, the game was kind of already slipped away by that point.
And even though PSG.LGD, they had a beautiful plan in this Pangolier last pick that can perhaps take over the game and deal with the Naga later on, they answered it. They answered it with Yaganims on the Naga and just completely killed their only chance. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, PSG.LGD has, been the final boss, as you say it, for this grand finals. And what is that? What is that? Tsunami?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's final boss. I've been crunching the numbers, and I think I finally understand. This whole time I was preparing as if Secret were going to be the representatives of not just Western Europe, but Europe in whole. And I was so ready to show you the differences between Secret's playstyle and LGD's playstyle. things went a little bit differently. I was trying to say that, oh man, LGD, they are the magnum opus of China. They have combined all the best parts of their compatriots, Vici Gaming, IG, Spirit. They're all grinders, actually. You know, Secret, they only played like 27 ticketed games. Meanwhile, you've got I-Leagues, you've got Pinnacle Cups. Both these regions are known to grind out games publicly. So that's one thing that was very similar to them. Next up, we've been talking, time and time again about how LGD is the fastest average game length, and they are. But Spirit is hot on their tail, not that much further behind. This is no fluke, my friends. After that, I was like, okay, well, surely the ward efficiency, and there is a little bit of a discrepancy. This was the average centuries used per D ward. LGD is still the kings of this whole thing, but you heard Insania at the beginning of this cast. You saw how the Naga illusion usage was used. Spirit understand vision extremely well, and they also understand drafts extremely well. 5 more unique heroes picked throughout this entire tournament. Maybe LGD have been holding on to things, and also it's a big credit to Yatoro, obviously, on the side of Spirit, because Ame, he's no slouch in his own self. He's been putting up some solid numbers. All you people who went in on Team Secret for your fantasy, I feel bad for you, because Ame, even in a losing series, will still be doing work. Though, granted, that's only after he matured a little bit. I think previous TIs for Ame, he's had some issues picking the right items, knowing when to use the right items, knowing when to buy the right items, but he has matured ever since. And this should really come as no surprise that Team Spirit has won Game 1, because this is a rematch from the OGA Dota Pit Invitational just from a month ago. And you know who won that Game 1? It was Spirit also. Yeah. After that, they lost 3 games.
Wow, a lot of confidence for Team Spirit coming out from Tsunami there. And yes, that was indeed how those grand finals went. However, since then, I think it is very safe to say that Team Spirit, over the entire 2021 year, Fog, the most improved team in Dota 2 on the planet.
Yeah, and just still playing like it's not TI, I guess you could say. Like, not feeling the pressure so much is what I mean. Because I watched them, I got to cast them and watch them throughout both of the seasons, and I was big fans of them. Tokyo was playing with super confidence. Some games, maybe a little bit too much confidence, but being able to see players go up onto even grand finals doing this versus a team like LGD, it's amazing. And you could see there, they were still taking risks in a lot of this game. They were committing a lot of spells, like even over-committing at times, and it ended up working out anyway. So
yeah, I think we've seen that multiple times when Team Spirit seemed a little down in a game. They don't really seem to care. I don't know if that's the right word to say it, but they'll try to make the plays anyway, even if they're not ahead in the game, even if they're not 20k gold ahead. If they're 20k gold down, they'll still try. That's how they were able to get to this point, Lizard.
And that's the right winning mentality. When you're 20k gold behind and you go safe and you buy yourself that BKB instead of that one extra item that could perhaps win you the team fight, you're already signing the defeat. So I really like the mentality and approach to the game that Team Spirit is bringing to this TI.
They give off this aura where it's like, you know, we might eventually lose or get knocked out of TI, but that's okay. And turns out just playing with that kind of carefree, you know, we're just going to go out and, you know, play to win and, you know, anything can happen kind of attitude has really just worked wonders for them.
I really cannot wait already. Sorry, for True Sight, I was seeing like multiple conversations going on. You saw Zawait giving a little bit of a speech. We saw just Yatoro just, you know, having some comments back and forth. Ooh, I can't wait. I'm getting way too far ahead of myself with all those conversations. But I would like to hear from you guys what you think needs to be changed in game number 2, because we do talk about learning and adapting, Fogged, and in between best of 5, that's when it matters. These 15 minutes that these players have had, key moments.
Yeah, I think I know IO is an incredibly strong hero at the moment, but I actually think IO might be one of those that you maybe step away from, because TI, I think we've said it ad nauseum, it starts to come down to these big team fights. It comes down to these big little plays that you can do. Sure, IO can do those little plays, but ease of execution is a thing too. So I think for PSG.LGD, I want to see them go back to their guns, put Jinkyu on his normal heroes where he's going to be able to scale, have a bigger impact than just, I'm a tether, I'm an overcharge, a heal. I want them to diversify and let him also become that kind of carry mode too, because yeah, he's shown how much he can do as.
And when you talk about easy execution, they had like no stuns that game. Disruptor
Yes.
Glimpse, they would like, try catch this tide and then he'd just TP out in front of 4 heroes multiple times. So I think a lot of it is going to come back to the draft, simplify things, pick a few more stuns, and just make your game plan much easier to execute.
I completely agree. Just a little bit more team fight for PSG.LGD, and what they really have to get is that late game potential. In the last game, they truly didn't have it. And when you run a timer, that 20-25 minute mark in which you need to break the enemy and you're under pressure, under emotions, you're bound to make mistakes. So just play it safe, pick a hero that scales well into the late game.
Yeah, I mean, if we take a look back to the first 10 minutes of the previous game we just watched, I mean, both teams were taking it very safe. It was actually a fairly slow start to the game, which, based on draft, we were not really expecting, Gods, because that Naga Siren just had all the freedom in the world.
Yeah, I don't think PSG.LGD had a draft that was going to scale late game if they didn't get ahead and play aggressive. Usually it's their style to just go around, run at their opponents, look for these kills. And, when you're playing this Ursa as your carry with a mid Pengalier, you don't have that ability to scale, so they had to be a lot more aggressive there.
They really did. And we know that PSG.LGD can recover in a series, so I'm very curious to see what they bring to the table in this game too. Of course, also, this will be something that Silent and Miposhka will have discussed at length, because they know PSG.LGD will come up with a new plan as well. So it's, it's one-upping each other constantly in this best of 5. I want to just also quickly remind everyone that it is so phenomenal that we have 9 out of the 10 players on the stage being they're only the first or the second international that they're at. We are seeing, I kind of feel like the new generation of Dota players here on stage, Pug.
Oh God, don't say this.
What?
Oh,
It's time. No,
Oh,
this is true.
But then the older people are going to start retiring, and then we got like
No, but
7
they will
no-tail
all
coming
turn-
for our jobs. Oh,
Okay,
no.
well, they are already here,
Yeah,
and you're
it's too
still
late
on
for
the
that.
panel. Too late for
It's too
that.
late.
Savor the moment.
No, it is truly beautiful. I love when you see these young guns and just having this confidence. I think that's the biggest thing that everybody's just said is confidence.
Love
Spirit's
it.
just been oozing it.
Yeah,
The future of
love
Dota
it.
is bright. When you have all these young players coming out of multiple different regions, it really means, the next TIs in years to come are going to have some amazing new talent.
Yeah, are you a little bit jealous, Lizard?
I'm very jealous. I'm super emotional. Watching Team Spirit in particular, because I was in that Eastern Europe Tier 2, Tier 3 teams. This was a dream that for some is happening at the moment. It's becoming reality.
All
I'm
you
also
need to
very
do,
happy.
apparently, is on day 2 or day 3 of the event, you're like, Dota gods, they need to be worshipped. You shave off your head, you donate it, and here you are, grand finals.
There you go.
That's your Toro story right there. In case you're wondering why you look so different from all the pictures that you're seeing, that's the reason. He literally said in an interview, I felt like I needed to sacrifice something to the Dota gods. My hair.
I like how they're doing all these like little things too, where you're saying like I even saw when they won the last game too. Mira's like waving at somebody in the crowd, right? He's just like, hey, yeah, we won, guys, cheer for us. It's like, wait a minute.
I am very sad that this is not an actual crowd, because of course we have the LGD crowds coming in from our sound sweetener, but now Team Spirit doesn't have those crowds, because I know, like you've probably seen in a lot of different streams that, for example, the Eastern European audience right now, all-time high. Like, they are incredible. They are, of course, big fans of the guy on your screen right now and his whole squad, and they are rooting for them. And if we could hear them in an arena, we would not have been able to hear anything else, guys.
Every crowd loves an underdog too. Like, wherever you are in the world, this Team Spirit team would have won the hearts of the fans. Wherever you go in the world, there's always a huge amount of supporters for PSG.LGD. Obviously a crowd is missed, and, we hope to see it again in future years, but, these two teams still producing amazing Dota with or without a crowd.
Yeah, so what do we want to see in this game too? Like, are there any heroes that we feel like Yatoro still has to play?
I want to see a collapse Mars. You talked about the IO maybe going through. Give us IO collapse Mars.
All right. Well, we are going to find out if we will get a collapse Mars, or what else will he play. We're finding out right now.
Team Spirit versus PSG.LGD. Grand Finals, Game 2.
Hello again, welcome to the draft panel, the second game of the TI-10 Grand Finals, again with Seb and Notel. And I mean, Team Spirit, they took game 1. But I actually had a question I wanted to ask you guys. So in the first game, LGD had choice. They took first pick, and Spirit responded with Radiant. And in this game, Spirit had choice, but they actually took second pick, and LGD responded with Radiant. Why do you think that is?
I mean, there's definitely a big Radiant advantage, so no surprise that whoever gets to choose side will choose Radiant. And it does seem that now we have two teams that are gonna keep clashing at each other's, and they're questioning the execution versus the theory, because apparently Team Spirit wants second pick and LGD wants first pick. And I think also the way the draft starts is another case of that. This is the exact same scenario of game 1. So this is LGD stating that, hey, there's probably something we could have done better, maybe draft-wise, but our approach to these games is the right one, and we're sticking with it.
Yeah. I always love to see it when you have teams that stick with their guns, and you can say that Team Spirit were maybe really happy with how the choices went down, where they might prefer second pick, or they feel like they're able to punish them really hard, or whatever it is. I think LGD always should be left with okay, now we at least know, like, this is what they want, and blah, 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 and this is a best of 5, so this is also them gonna be getting to know each other better. This outcome of this game is gonna be super important for how the rest will shape out. LGD, they might feel something if they're winning, or if they're losing, there's always a chance that they keep going back to the same thing, but then, yeah, like this game, we're gonna probably see, I'm predicting, Team Spirit going for something new again for Yatoro. I think they're feeling themselves a lot and are drafting a lot also on feeling. You also heard Heen talk about that. They're drafting on feeling. And you also see now LGD decided to switch it up, or kind of go away from what happened last game with like lack of AoE, lack of team fight, and they instantly lock in Alesh with the IO to give the IO that.
I want to say that, so Team Spirit, right, they really shook LGD. Like they proved that they can beat them at their own game. And I feel like no team so far in the tournament has done that. And I was kind of sad as a Dota enthusiast. Is like, come on, like if you're going to lift the Aegis, somebody has to, make you kind of work for it. And Team Spirit did that, and it's awesome. And now we're going to see, can LGD show us, the level 2, the level 3, and then it's going to bring even better Dota. What I really love about Team Spirit did, they had the same opener open to them. They could have ET tied again.
Yep.
And, they respect LGD. They respect them so much that they expect them to be ready to punish them for the same draft. So they know, like, you know what? We're not giving you what you think we're going to do. You're going to have to think on the spot. We don't want you to come to this draft with, XIO8, 1 hour of preparation on how to do even better. You have to think on the spot. Bane Magnus. It's beautiful approach. It's mind games between the drafters, and props to Miposhka and Silent for pulling this one out.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. This is like a big mental game. It's always been, it always will be, but it starts here. It starts with the draft, and again, so many statements are being made between the draft, between the two teams. I'm like, this is what we believe in, this is what we're going to do to you now, and we're trying to throw you off guard. And yeah, a lot being said.
I do want to say that there's something very interesting in my opinion, is like last game, LGD, when they play this West, they're very much looking at connecting early with nothing to say. Mm-hmm. And connecting to a Pangolier that doesn't have the best matchup, it's hard. Pango doesn't really have a way to take over the game. Leshrac, Wisp, that is scary. Leshrac most of the time wins his lane. He can power farm, he can, you start accelerating a Leshrac as a Wisp, he might take over the game. And I feel like with the Pangolier, it's not the same.
There's a lot more abuse to be had with the Leshrac. You can get the mana, you can get the Soul Ring, you can get like the runes, you can get certain mana abuse that also allows this hero to have a way different game. His timings are something else. Like this going back to base, this not being able to dive, IO can fix all of it for you.
He will take the towers, he will kill anything, any camp, he'll take the entire game if he has to. And that's something very beautiful. Another thing to mention, in my opinion, is we have not seen Collapse yet out of his, trifecta, Magnus, Tide, Mars, where he's incredible on these heroes, and he's getting them every game. So he got the mag now again, which means, in my opinion, Team Spirit is going to be in their comfort zone. They have so many cool strategies, so many cool lanes. They understand how to fight around these heroes better than any team in the tournament.
And I think you're spot on with the read that you guys have about Leshrac, because they're just banning to protect their mid Leshrac, right? We see the Lina coming out, the Invoker, and even now an Antimate. I mean, I don't know if it protects a Snowball. But when you have this hero, I think you pretty much want to play for nothing to say time. I think that's what has found LGD a lot of success in this tournament. I got they're not diverting so much from their West. They think this is the strongest hero for them, but they're adding on to that strategy.
There's something I think very important to mention is that, the second phase, how it's going to go down. And like Team Spirit will have to pick the hero that's going to be kind of the pivotal hero. Like they don't want to show, and then they're going to start counter picking. And it is interesting for LGD to show the Leshrac that early, because no matter what, first pick cannot protect the mid matchup. You know, Team Spirit can just delay the mid pick for as long as they want to. In this case, LGD is like, you know what? We're committing to this with Leshrac. We don't think it's countered. Or maybe they think it's only countered by Lina and Invoker that can match the pace of what Wiz Leshrac can apply to a game. And now it's like they're happy. No matter what Team Spirit is holding for the 18 or the 24 pick, for the mid lane, it does not matter.
Does that mean you think that Team Spirit should pick their mid out of the phase just so that they don't reveal anything more about the draft? Or
it makes a lot of sense. There's always arguments for both. Like if you wanna, depends on how you enjoy playing Dota sometimes, depends on what types of players you have on your team. If you see the mid matchup, theoretically, of course, there's many arguments for revealing your mid matchup or trying to address this and have a stronger win condition if that's what you're going for on your carry. There's also another way where it's like, yeah, you love your mid laner so much that you're going to pick your carry hero and make sure that this Leshrac is mid and make sure there's no bamboozling happening and he gets the last pick win condition or timing condition or whatever it might be. It all depends. If you pick anti-mages out, but if you pick some carry hero here and you say nothing can beat it in the game, it makes a lot of sense too because you want your mid guy to stabilize the game and he needs to have a really good start. Like the better the start, the better because you're going to need him very early.
Could this be Shaker Morph coming? Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
So that's one of the. So you have these combos, right, that are very hard to pick, and there's only 2 scenarios in which you can actually pick them. And probably that's one of the strengths of first pick is first pick has the double pick, right, the Shaker Morph.
Yes. Yeah. There's that, and also you feel like quite often with this phase you might want to commit just cause it's going to be hard to counter, and there's this and that. But don't you think this Willow was a protect pick against this?
But potentially, maybe it was even a setup for the Morph. I think, like, the way I look at it is they're trying to take the win condition away from the Mac +1, and I think Shaker Morph has a way to play fights and scale into the Mac +1, in my opinion.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I think I don't know if they thought about it, but Willow Bramble is one of the best abilities against the Shaker Morph. The Aghanims, you can't just roll through the fight. If there's Brambles on the ground, you instantly get pulled down. I don't know if that's what they were thinking, but I also think, like Seb said, they're maybe threatening this Morphling to come up. And if they have an answer now they trap them. Or if they feel like they have an amazing answer to this.
There's many things about why this Shaker Morph here makes a lot of sense. It's not stoppable, drafting-wise. They're picking both heroes, in the same phase. You cannot stop it. Mechanically, drafting-wise, you can't stop it. The AA cannot be picked anymore because they have shown the Bane and they have shown the Willow. Meaning, like the big counters to the Shaker Morph are kind of hard to pick for Team Spirit. It's a win condition. It's a very strong combo that scales into anything. Very powerful second phase from LGD, and that's what I think why they are the best first pick team in the tournament, because they understand the weaknesses of first pick, but most importantly, they abuse the strength of the drafting order of first pick. They're like, you cannot stop me from getting what I want, and what I want, I think it beats anything.
Yep.
So from your guys' perspective, of the 2 drafts, like if you were in their shoes, which draft would you actually prefer to have right now?
It's a hard pick. I kind of want to lean towards LGD, but don't know how you feel about it.
I would say LGD in a way, but at the same time, I can also see where Team Spirit is going with this. A lot of people would say that Lesh, Shaker, Morph are all heroes that are good against Willow, but I see amazing Bramble value here versus the Lesh, the IO. You can break the tether, you can do a lot of stuff in team fights for the Shaker and the Morph, and it's a quick lineup. The Luna is able to hit these timings where Roshan is threatened, where towers are threatened very early. And Shaker Morph, they need a lot of time. They usually don't come online until 20-something.
So I'll make the case against... so Johan is vouching for Team Spirit. I'm going to try to vouch for LGD for what they have going for them. I think they're one of the best teams in the world, understanding how to make a Leshrac scale also through the Leshrac shard. They have abused that in the online tournaments prior to TI. And now this Shaker, plus the Morph, plus the Lesh and the shards, like the scaling, the stun, AoE stuns in the team fight later, it's going to be crazy. I think they have the Wisp, Lesh, as we talked about, they're covering it so much. They ban the Invoker, they ban the Lina, they ban the Void Spirit, they ban the Kunkka. There's going to be very few mid laners that are going to be able to deal with this Lesh running at you with the Wisp tethering to him, overcharge and whatnot. So they do have very powerful things going into the game. Of course, they have the pick-off, the map, Leshrac shoving the lanes, relocate, the Shaker threat bursting you out of fog on the map, Shaker Morph scaling. There's a lot going on, in my opinion, for LGD. And yet again, you look at the 5v5, you look at the lineups, and you can theorize all you want. Now you also have to keep track, and that's why drafting is such a complex thing. You have to keep track of how the lanes are going to play out. Because if Team Spirit, they destroy the laning phase, none of that matters. The game might just be over in minute 10.
So do you think they're thinking about the lane right now? Because in my head, I thought LGD, they were going to pick Rubik, right? Counter the skewer, but instead they go with a Nature's Prophet, maybe a stronger laner into that Luna.
Very strong into the Luna Willow or Luna Bane. No matter how you look at it, this Prophet lane should be heavily LGD favored. And it complements very well what's happening. The Leshrac pressure with the Wisp, now you have treants, meaning you do get a kill, you get a tower. Prophet connects, Prophet ulti. I think it plays very well to their game. It's going to stabilize the game by, slowing down the Luna, winning the lane. It's going to connect to the Wisp and the Leshrac, and it's going to add to the global pressure on the map.
Prophet is also one of the quickest heroes, you could say, in Dota. You pick this, like you pick an Ench, you pick an Ursa. There might just be a different Dota game coming your way. You might not be allowed to play as slow or as fast as you'd hope, because this hero adds so much dimension. And yeah, I think this IO Lesh Prophet, the timings that they can hit before minute 15, they can break this game.
And we see Team Spirit, they're trying to respond a little bit to that pressure with some outspan from long range, but I'm not sure if they have enough. Like, I look at the 4 heroes from LGD side, and that collapse, it looks terrifying, honestly, onto mid, onto safe lane, anything.
I see how both teams can fight. I will still put a lot, like if you take the laning phase aside, and let's say that both teams end up with some farm and items, you have this, he's known for his skewer plays right now, and then you also have the Willow Bramble and the Puck. I think both teams can fight.
Yeah, and now we're going to hear from Sumi, who has an interview with Xiaowei about this draft.
Thank you very much, AUI and the panel. I'm here with Xiaoba from PSG.LGD, the coach. A lot of people were expecting your team to play a different team in Grand Finals. Did you prepare at all for Team Spirit?
很多人都觉得你们决赛对战的是另外一支队伍，你对 Spirit 有做准备吗？
我们昨天晚上已经把2个队的数据和资料就全部研究开会讨论了。
We've already studied and analyzed both teams' stats last night.
They are very, very prepared. All right. Many people have also said that Collapse's Magnus has led to many of Team Spirit's wins. How does the team feel about Magnus? Are they afraid or are they ready?
很多人也觉得 Spirit 的3后卫他的梦马就非常厉害，也是他们夺得胜利的关键。你们会担心这个英雄吗？
我们有想过他们拿猛犸这个英雄，就是全是在我们意料之中。
We've already thought of them picking Magnus, so it's all in our plans.
It is all in PSG.LGD's plans, and we will see as we go into Game 2 of PSG.LGD versus Team Spirit. Lyrical and Trent, take it away.
Thank you so much, Sumi. And yes, Trent, we are here. They're prepped and ready. A very confident sounding coach for LGD. How are you feeling right now about this matchup?
I don't know. Everyone thought that every other team was going to be ready for Team Spirit the whole way through, right? Constantly doubting them, thinking they weren't going to make it, and constantly giving Collapse these big heroes that they just discussed, like the Magnus. So we'll see. Game 1, they weren't ready. Maybe Game 2, they've got a solution.
It's going to be so interesting to watch. I feel like this team has really just ridden off the back of the momentum that they've gained from the very early goings in the group stages, and they haven't looked back once. The thing that I'm really interested to watch for is if they can keep that up. Like, I feel like sometimes when you get in these huge matchups and you go up one game, Team Spirit now there, you can sense the victory coming, and I want to see if they can keep up that same carefree attitude we've seen from them so far.
Just playing Dota, just having fun with each other.
Yeah.
Surely that's got to feel like at some point you've got to be thinking like, oh, are we gonna win, guys?
Is this actually gonna happen?
Are we doing this?
It's crazy, but we'll see if it ends up happening here as Mira spots out a couple of those treants that are trying to get a little bit of vision. So interesting things to watch for in this as far as a laning matchup is concerned. We'll see where that Nature's Prophet ends up at and how much pressure they can put on. Very annoying hero to deal with in the early goings.
Yeah, very much a discussion of timings really throughout all the games today. I feel like we're finding that one team seems to have a very clear, we want to do this at 20 minutes. And the other team's like, we just want to hang out and kind of scale.
Oh, Xingqiu going to have to back out there on the Shaker. And 3 bounty runes again for Team Spirit, just like last game.
I will say, I believe this game that LGD had a very good idea of what was going on. I think they completely saw that puck pick coming. I think they banned around the fact that, like, yeah, that's going to be left in. We're okay with that. It's a go-to hero versus the Morphling. I wouldn't say they're really surprised. Charlie Tokyo, obviously an amazing player, but, the puck not exactly one of the ones that's been, popping off the rampages here for Team Spirit.
True enough.
Those spirits tend to scale just like a little bit more, and you kind of lack that a bit on the puck.
It'll be something to watch for, though, if he can make those good rotations, as obviously the Nature's Prophet on Faith Beyond can also move into multiple different lanes. So we'll keep our eyes on it. And like you said, I think both drafts have like a very clear identity behind them, right? You got this Magnus that's going to start off the fights occasionally after the puck comes in. You've got the Morph Shaker as a potential danger later on. But it is, of course, going to be played on that support Shaker this time. So we'll see if you can get into the items at the same timing we've seen for the cores.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like PSG.LGD were very much ready for that, right? The Dark Willow came out, and then right away they're just like, yeah. We saw that earlier. We know. You want the Morph and the Willow. We're taking the Morph and the Shaker. It's pretty good, too, but yeah, the support Shaker hasn't worked as well. So, a little bit close there, but Ame's all right.
He's going to be able to dodge away from that one. You could see here also a nice little interrupt on the pull-through that came through, and Faith Beyond steps over to the side. This, of course, sets up some free farm for the Luna. Normal laning shenanigans and the power that you have as Bane in these early goings.
Yeah, it's frustrating for the Bane too, because like you're so used to being able to dominate a lot of situations as Bane. Well, Miposhka now actually trapped in by a Fisher with the Treants on top of him.
A lot of damage out there onto this poor old Bane. Can they run him down? A couple more hits is all they need. Not quite able to get that last right click, and Miposhka with the brain sap and the runaway. Xingqiu still might be able to run him down. That boots advantage,
he's not
but
careful. All right,
no.
good choice, Xingqiu. Good choice.
Keeps it safe that time.
But yeah, I mean, Bane, obviously you're used to trading favorably and having answers to like someone trying to pull your wave. But with the Nightmare and the Treants being there, they actually have some counterplay here to like trying to set up for plays as well in the lane. So it's a good pick for the Prophet.
Allows him to play that much more freely. But you can see that Luna already off to a hot start. 11-2 right there in the top lane is down bottom. Y gonna take one little punch there from the Dark Willow, and a Fissure block off on the other side, but not within that tower range. So we'll be able to get away with some extra damage. Tango, as well as the Quelling Blade through, and he's fine.
That's a nice Fissure, though. Yeah. That's a pretty good chunk of damage on him there, just the harass. Only has a single Tango left. No salves currently on Miposhka. So, you know that Courier, makes the call, brings him up, and it's going to be running with a salve in that top lane now. So if there's any chance here for LGD to score a kill, it might be sooner rather than later.
Too true. Got to look for that opening. Down bottom.
Really trying to pressure, too. They keep pump faking this Fissure up top.
I mean, if you catch him on the wrong side of it, it's going to be a ton of damage out with those Treants. But even without it, right? Just the one Fissure and a couple punches from Faith Beyond, he hits really hard. They will be bringing over that Courier now. Miposhka needs to make sure this one does not get sniped by Xingqiu.
Hopefully you're not losing it to a Shaker.
Yeah, true enough.
But this bottom lane, lots of harass being spammed out here from Mira and Collapse as well. But it's a Morphling, it's an IO. Morphling in itself a very frustrating hero to lane versus due to the regen mechanics and the ability to morph strength and agi, but comboed up with an IO. It's pretty rough trying to get a kill. But more players, they tend to go for some of these overextensions, so maybe he'll get a bit greedy there.
Right, and even, just the pressuring and forcing him to switch over attribute shift, it makes it a little bit harder for the Morph to last hit. So it's not all bad, as Xingqiu is going to make that big move over underneath the ward and going to steal away the small camp. How many does he get? Not a ton, but nothing to say. Able to sneak a few as well.
All right, interesting stuff there. It does sacrifice the top water room potential there. Well, I say that, actually. Miposhka
moves in. Toronto Tokyo going to be able to pick up this water rune and maybe get some extra pressure onto Xingqiu. Jumps forward, and there's the first blood. Toronto Tokyo draws it.
Well done by Miposhka. Like, not even just, he basically baited out that rune, right? Let Xingqiu coming a little bit too close, get the first blood for Team Spirit, and they're off to a hot start in Game 2 after already surprising pretty much everyone by going up one game. I mean, I agree. I thought their draft was better last game, but, we just keep wondering, like, how long will the magic last with this team?
It does seem like just an unbelievably improbable run. To think that this team came all the way through in the qualifiers. We're down 2-1 in that series.
Now, they played a lot of Pango when he wasn't available to play for PSG.LGD. And, of course, Coach Chava stepping in, playing a masterful Pango. He did really well. And we've had this discussion of like how he sort of controls the macro game to help these players so they can think more about their own heroes and their own item builds. And they have a clear identity of like what I'm supposed to do in this game. But if you're not experienced on the hero, that formula doesn't work so well.
True enough.
But he's got a Leshrac now. Much better hero for nothing to say.
Very comfortable. Comfy time for nothing to say. And so far, he's doing fairly well. The early first blood onto Toronto Tokyo giving that puck the advantage as another stack up on those camps. And now, trying to scout for these runes. Miposhka just within vision there, and Nightmare. It's going to use a lot of mana there. And Toronto Tokyo gets the haste down bottom, so a little bit of luck and a little bit of good rotations, helping out Team Spirit.
Yeah, even threatening to have the TP in there, Mposha will be all right, and actually just starts going right back on the aggressive. Will only catch a sentry though, no obs taken away there. So we heard a lot of discussion actually last game from Insania talking about like the power runes and the strength you're going to have from that right here, and especially for a Puck, a hero that's really capable of trying to abuse that, because you want to be making these early rotations with the Dream Coil. And it looks like not going to secure another kill there.
Yeah, I think it's an important point to make, is that you've got to watch so carefully on any of these other side lanes. If LGD overstep, they get a little bit close to a tower, Puck could easily make that rotation and kill off a couple.
Oh, Mposha gets spotted on the way out here. So did sentry on the pillar, was kind of checking around, finding some wards, and then putting obs down by the Ancients. And there is a sentry here on Xingqiu, so this could be pretty painful.
Oh,
he's got it, right?
All right, they see it. That was right on the edge.
That's a huge D ward. That was a lot of time spent from Mposha.
And at the same time, LGD going to move in and head up top. Why and nothing to say together. Are they going to try and make a kill here onto the Luna a little bit far out? And we'll see if they can connect with this one, but...
This is a tower kill gank.
Yeah.
They're ganking that tower. It's not moving. They don't have to worry about it. Luna, she's kind of fast, you know. She's got some night vision. Maxed out Lunar Blessing. But the tower, it doesn't move.
True enough. They're going to move in and
next
take
hero,
this one down.
Marcy. Can she just throw the tower somewhere?
It's a possibility.
Ideas?
Dare to dream.
That went down really fast.
Yeah, this is a problem potentially. The early group up right there, and the fact that you can't really contest it at all. Yadoro heads back into the jungle to farm up his medium camp.
Look at Mposha. He actually got spotted there. He did step in vision for a moment. And a correctly drawn line here from Y, I believe, as to his current path.
But they did get down that ward. We'll see if that one gets taken away by LGD. As down bottom, able to go for the RP now, connecting on to Ame, but I don't know if this is going to translate into a kill.
No, they don't think so, at least. They're not.
Skewer.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, they bring in the IO as well, and that's going to be more than enough. Ame backs away perfectly fine.
Mposha is just like, can I get something done here? You know, my wards. Getting a little D-warded here, just roaming around. You know, it's actually Y, who's well known for being such a roamer, but on this IO having to play a little bit closer to his ally.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a change-up in styles there. We saw a bunch of that rotation going on in the last game from him, as Mposha, on his Bane, finds another courier kill.
Yeah, for Y, despite being a 5-player, he actually gets often categorized by like some of the information scrapers in Dota as a roaming hero. We've been told by some of our stats people, just because he spends so much time going between the lanes.
It's Ame, Collapse, facing off with each other. And just the focus right now on the farm, stacking up the camps. Ame again moves up to come and contest this, and Collapse, I don't know if they're really going to be able to do all that much to stop him. Very interesting, but Fissure up top. Now the follow-up, looking for it. Faith Beyond there as well, and this is going to be a kill.
That's a pretty stark difference to the 3 heroes stalking the Radiant carry, you know? They got to get this kill, right?
They got to get something here, that's for sure. Mposha's waiting off to the side. Nightmare down, a couple punches, but they bring in the IO, trade off that Nightmare. And that's going to be more than enough for the moment, but why? Also drop it low, not low enough. Instead, they turn, find Collapse. One more touch is not enough with Faith Beyond. TPing in, they might be able to find him here.
That was the trusty shovel, keeping him alive.
Yeah, heading down to the south. TP is available, but Collapse in some trouble. Does the Spirit connect? Ugh, not quite going to be on the mark. He gets out.
Trusty shovel indeed. Up top, nothing to say. Zoning back Toronto Tokyo as he kind of came in to invade on the Ancients, but the pressure will stay in the bottom lane. We already saw how quickly that top tower went down. No point slowing down here for PSG.LGD.
It's interesting though, right? Because you can see that this is a dynamic that we've seen multiple times throughout this tournament. You have Team Spirit with a little bit of a lead, even though it's LGD that are taking down more of the towers. Just that stacking up farming mentality we're seeing from Spirit right here.
And look at the treants put out here. They're watching for Toronto Tokyo, right?
Yeah.
Because they know that everything's on this Dream Coil. That's by far the easiest way for them to initiate. So you just fan out your units like that from Faith Beyond. And unless they're going to smoke in, you're going to catch that puck.
And instead, they're going to find the Dream Coil towards the mid lane, trying to take down this Lech. Do they have enough? Yes. Toronto Tokyo picks up that kill. And with that, a 3,000 gold lead this early on for Team Spirit.
Bit of a theme, I feel like, from these two games from PSG.LGD. Ame did a similar thing last game on the Ursa, where he kind of stayed in an area which seems like, surely, you know, like you're in trouble, you know?
Right.
He ended up dying on the Ursa in the top lane. And this time, you know, at least they got a favorable trade. They took a tower after that, which I think was part of the plan from PSG.LGD, but they were able to zone back on that bottom tower, shove the wave back out, and now even Collapse running in behind the tower, checking for a courier and everything down here. They're not willing to just, like, you know, give you the, like, take the kill and then just give you the tower. They're able to defend after as well.
Right. Oh,
okay, but now that pressure is coming mid.
Mira. They're going to have to get onto the Brambles. Thought about that RP, but calls it off afterwards. And again, nothing to say in the mid lane, starting to push down this tier 1 tower with XinQ in tow. And why? They'll get it. It's so interesting to me, right? Because you think about traditionally what people think of these styles of play, and Team Spirit definitely going the more farming route in this one. You saw there for a second the last hits that Yatoro has. 135 compared to the 69 of Ame.
Yeah. Oh, Yatoro actually spotted out here, but they're not going to have anything in time to catch. But that also comes back to just the idea of punishing that Dream Coil, right? It was used. You killed me. All right, congratulations. But I'm a Leshrac. I don't have any cooldowns. When I respawn, I'm coming right back. I'm taking that tower. But as you said, to the timings, like PSG.LGD, Y has said before, like, we love picking for scale. We like to be very balanced. We're comfortable going late because we think we make better decisions at that point in the game. And even though this is a pretty fast lineup from PSG.LGD, it does have some late game tools, right? The Morph Shaker, of course, if you get to that, can really go against anything at this point.
It is a little bit terrifying. You're not wrong. Actually queuing up the Dragon Lance right now on Ame. So obviously could maybe disassemble that later and build it into the Axe if he wants.
Yeah, we see that a lot versus the Luna, because it makes like a really nice little matchup, right? Where she's kind of got this like zone that you're trying to play out of and kite her just a little bit, gives you that tank ability versus all this magic damage there too. Really balanced item to start out with.
So Team Spirit nursing that 2k gold lead, as on the other side, LGD trying to keep the pressure onto these buildings. Up top, nothing to say is there. The 4 points in Edict forces out the glyph.
Wow, that was a pretty easy glyph to get, not gonna lie. Yeah. Didn't have to commit that hard at all. I mean, Collapse had already TP'd up there too, so can imagine they'd like to go for another one soon. And as we approach, you know, sort of past the laning stage, we start thinking, you know, how's the Roche look in this game? They could take it relatively early, right? You get an early DD with this lineup with Nature's Prophet and Morphling. They might opt for it.
And look at this movement in before the Blink Dagger on Shaker. Oh, Nightmare by Miposhka to dodge the stun, but Yatoro is still in some trouble as they run him down. It was good, but it wasn't good enough.
Toronto Tokyo's coming, but they are too tanky. I mean, you see these stacked up heroes, maybe you're, you know, sort of thinking about going in for the Dream Coil, but it's a bit too much. They're just so tanky right now.
And instead, they try and find a pick off here. Nothing to say. The rest of his friends a little ways away. XinQ making the move over. They're going to get the Terrorize. That's going to get the Tether Snap. And afterwards, the ulti coming from Willow, but nothing is taking the regen from Y. Keeping his core player alive.
With the wand, with the IO, this early hood into the Eternal Shroud as well. They're going to have some issues bringing down this Leshrac without the Luna being there.
Yeah, I mean, you just get blown up like that. I mean, obviously a great Nightmare dodge of the stun that came in, but in the end, you need to get that BKB online, as we've seen time and again, and Yatoro trying to get towards it now. As LGD starting to cut a little bit into this lead here. And also getting a little bit of free time right now for Ame to farm up.
Yeah, I think Toronto Tokyo is starting to just think about like his role in this game, what he can do. You know, Puck obviously pretty versatile in terms of the builds. Thinking about an early Aeon disc here. And we'll have to get out of this one. Even go for the a TP in there. Very nice play to even preempt that by blinking somewhere else for the TP. Could have set something up there. They also have the Orchid ready on this push here. So with the relocate in 5 seconds, everyone can be top lane right now for PSG.LGD. For Team Spirit, they don't see very much. I mean, they're rotating a lot of heroes to that bottom lane. I think they just have to go for the counter push.
Yeah, there's no other play really. And they have a glyph still on LGD as well.
They need this Blink Dagger on Collapse before they can defend.
It's going to be too much too quickly otherwise. And you can see getting very close. Collapse just going to farm up the rest of these camps here. While bottom, Team Spirit trying to pressure that in.
Toronto Tokyo, he's got the Veil.
Okay.
He's got the Blink.
He's thinking.
How bold is he?
This guy's crazy. We've seen it time and again, and Fate Beyond shows up.
He just wants the creeps. That's all he's going for here.
Oh, Fate Beyond spots him. The silence is there. That's the Orchid reveal, and he is mega dead.
Yeah, he's really greedy. It turns out. Oh, you know, you got a full creep wave. That's quite a bit of gold, too.
True.
But almost a certainty when you go over that play.
This does stop the backdoor protection, though. So this is going to stay alive a little bit longer, forcing LGD in this area for a bit. But eventually it will fall.
And already 50 on back to that bottom lane to just push that back out too. So Very well orchestrated there from PSG.LGD. But the Courier, it holds the key. Ice Frog, little Courier, delivering a Blink Dagger to Collapse. So, you know, he's got a few more things queued up there you guys might have seen already in this tournament. The Shard, the Force Staff. He's made a couple plays. Perhaps some highlight reel ones.
He's been absolutely spectacular.
I think he needs a couple more this game.
True enough. Not if LGD have anything to say about it. They've also had a few highlights at times. And playing on that Earthshaker with the Morphling, you just know that there's pain coming if they're left to free farm in this one.
That's really the worst part of just staying in the upper bracket. Less highlights, you know, less games to play.
True enough, yeah.
Especially when you crush your opponent so hard, and then finally being challenged now by Team Spirit.
They're up one game again. Cinderella story that hasn't died yet. And seeing if it can continue on here in this game number 2. The BKB is done. Taking a look at a few of these other items around the map. Collapse has that blink done. Xingqiu getting closer to his, has it complete.